Welcome to Coach on a Couch. I'm your host, Jason Zaleski. Coach on a Couch, sponsored by Grassland Dairy. Grassland Dairy, exciting and rewarding career opportunities available now at grassland.com. With us today, Stratford Tigers head football coach Jason Tubbs. Coach, remind everybody how many years you've been coaching and what keeps you coming back every year.
Well, this is, I believe it's my 27th year total. I did 4 or 5 years in Toma, Wisconsin, a couple of years in Des Moines, Iowa, a couple of years in Canton, Ohio, and then I've been here at Stratford now, I think, since 2003. So my math ain't great, but I believe that's 18 years. So it's been a fun ride. I enjoy doing it. My son's a freshman now, so I can't see myself coaching too much after when he gets done with his senior year, but you never know, depending on things and situations at home and whether or not I want to continue to go. But I'm very fortunate to have a wonderful coaching staff and a lot of great guys that have been around forever, alumni. So it's easy to coach when you have a great staff.
We'll keep the job posting on hold just for now.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about last year a little bit. Everybody knows it was a strange year. I think we can probably do without that talk. Instead, I think what to talk about is a new conference for you guys last year. Because of the strangeness in last year, you didn't get to see everybody. But tell us about that and how that new conference will make you and your guys a better team each year.
Well, I think one thing, we're going to have to travel well. I think this year we have some of the longer teams that are away from us at home. But in years to come, we're going to have to go to Wyoweek, Fremont. We're going to have to go to Shiocton, Manawa, Wittenberg. These are long. Amherst, even there's an hour plus, hour and a half. Some of them are, we are not used to those long road trips, and I think that will actually help us in the long run because I think it'll get us more playoff ready to get off a bus and play. In years past, Auburndale, Spencer, Columbus, they're in the conference now, but Spencer and Marathon, Edgar, of course, Athens, those are all short rides for us. So now we're going to have to learn how to be prepared for an hour and a half bus ride, get your legs loose and ready to play.
Yeah, not only short rides, a lot of running clock in the second half, just the way that it is in that particular grouping, and that, this new conference seems like it should set you up for a postseason play just a little bit better. You had postseason play last year. You and the guys finished 5-2 in an abbreviated year. You beat Neillsville Granton in a postseason game, and then Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. Now that was interesting to me, and that's what we'll focus on here a little bit about last year. You beat them pretty well. I think it was maybe even your first game of the year, if I remember right. And then a little bit more than 2 minutes left in regulation. You're at home, trailing Wittenberg-Burnhamwood by 6. You set up a little screen over the middle to Devin Ulrich, who's off to the races, and the defense forces a fumble, finishes it off. So talk about the growth of your team and those other teams in the conference as the season went on.
Yeah, Wittenberg, they changed up a lot of different things throughout the season, and I think they were practicing plays that were just going to be used in that game, and kind of threw us for a little bit of a curveball. I also think that our team, knowing that it really wasn't a playoff game, it was going to be the last game, I think their focus that week was probably not the best, and I think they got punched in the mouth a little bit. But then give our seniors from last year credit, Colton Schillinger, Bo Gross, Max Vanderhoof and company, to say, okay, we're not going to leave this stadium with a loss. And so then they buckled down and got the guys going, and a fun way to end a weird year. And glad that is over and behind us. I wish COVID was behind us. We had just another one of our scrimmage, a player from DC Everest tested positive that played against us. So I'm like, oh, here we go again. But our guys have been pretty vigilant about being smart about it, letting us know if they have any symptoms.
All right, we look forward now to the 2021 campaign. You'll get pretty much a full look at a number of those teams in this new conference. And of course, you got Edgar back on the schedule this year. But week 1, and that's what you're preparing for this week, is Mozambique. So tell us how the week of practice has gone as you build up towards that game at Mozambique on Friday night at 7:00.
Yeah, our focus every week is just to be 1-0, and it doesn't happen every week, but that's our focus. And this week, the guys are all focusing on Mozambique. They got some returning players as well as we do, and they have a passing game that you're going to see. Last year in their abbreviated schedule, they had over 2,000 yards passing from their senior quarterback, and then another 500 yards from the guy that's coming back. So for 2,500 yards passing, that's for us sometimes that's 4 years. So we're going to have to be prepared to play a full fourth quarter game against a bigger school, a team that's going to, throw the ball. We're used to more ground and pound type of teams that we kind of have gotten accustomed to. But, actually, I think it's going to actually help us though in our regular season schedule, because more and more teams are going to spread, and they are going to four wides and throw the ball. So, Mosainee's going to prepare us for that. Egger's going to prepare us for the ground and pound and just being physical. So our two non-conference games are probably two of the tougher ones in the state. I always think year in and year out, if you can schedule that should be ready for your conference play.
I mentioned one of the guys coming back, Devin Ulrich, one of your receivers. Give us a couple other names. People come down to the stadium. They're going to watch your games at home or on the road. Who are some of the other names that they might hear during the season?
Ray Smart has been doing awesome for us. He's a runner-up state wrestling qualifier, and we moved him from wide receiver to fullback, and he's going to be the guy that's going to carry the ball. He's going to replace Bo Gross. He's our fastest guy on our team. He's 195 pounds of muscle. He boxes. He does jiu-jitsu on the side. I mean, the kid has got energy to burn. He's also one of our starting D-backs that's returning as well. Along with him, you have Elijah Lucio, who's a very athletic kid, another state wrestling qualifier. You got Caden Griesmer. You're going to see him carrying the ball this year. And Zach Seitz, a returning offensive lineman for us. That's all conference. And then Noah Barrett, who's a two-way starter returning for us, big, strong kid. So those guys, I think, will be the focal point of other teams trying to stop. But then, we have some kids that got playing time last year. I'm excited to see how Dylan and Gavin Kirsch do. Cash Dow is a kid that he built himself into a football player. Last year at this time, he was benching 150 pounds, and now he's benching over 300. So he took it onto himself to say, I want to play. I better get in the weight room. So those are the guys we're going to be fun to see how they develop and moving forward.
You mentioned a couple of those wrestlers. Everybody knows Stratford's got a great wrestling history along with a football history. What makes that wrestler an easy transition to football? And maybe this is even a little bit of a pitch for you to have some of those other guys on the wrestling team come out and play yet this year. But what makes those guys such an easy transition into the game of football?
Well, football is such a contact sport, so that they're not used. Those kids automatically come in used to having contact. Used to grabbing a guy, pushing a guy, getting leverage on a guy, throwing a guy. So they have to have that mindset. I also would want to say our basketball players also bring a different variety too, with their quickness and their agilities. And that's one thing you'll see with Caden Griesmer and Devin Ulrich. Those are two kids that play basketball. They move well in space. Darren Heeg is another one. So if you can get a combination, I love having my O linemen and D linemen be wrestlers, and I love having my wide receivers and D-backs being basketball players. It doesn't always work out that way. I think there's some kids that are wrestling that are trapped in a basketball body, and they can do probably both. They're that good of athletes.
Senior leadership is such a big deal in high school sports. You as a coach and your coaching staff, you get to be on the field with them during practice. Game day, you're pushed back to the sideline. What do you tell your seniors? How do you get that message across that on game day, this is for you guys? You got to go do it.
Yeah, number one thing is control the huddles. We have a policy: no blaming, no complaining, no defending. And so right off the bat, they are calling each other out on that culture. You don't blame another person because the next play's coming, and we can't dwell on that. And complaining, there's nothing that you can do about it. The refs are going to call what they want to call, and just have to adjust and overcome. So our seniors have done that now for 3 years, and I think they're getting to accustomed to that. That's the culture in Stratford, and I think it's paying off. It has paid off. You can focus on the next play instead of trying to focus on 3 plays ago.
Football, we'll leave with this here, Coach. Kind of back to the game on Friday against Mozambique. Again, head down to Mozambique High School. Check it out in person. If you can't make it there, we'll have it live at ZaleskiSports.com. As a matter of fact, all Stratford football games you can watch live at ZaleskiSports.com. Number one mission, though, get down to the stadium and cheer those kids on yourself. We're there. We're your plan B. Football is a game of momentum. It's a game of adjustments, and it's a long game. It's a chess game. What are some things when people are watching you and your guys in the first quarter on Friday over at Mozambique, aside from the scoreboard that says, you know what, Coach Tubbs has this thing going like he wants to?
Yeah, I'm guilty of being a newer head coach and having sloppy first games. And I reminded our players of that on Monday. where if we're coming out of the huddle fast and crisp, we're getting the exchange, we're getting the shotgun. We're going to be doing some shotgun this year. Those are the type of things where we got 11 guys on the field. We're making sure we don't have to call a timeout because we don't have a guy on the field. Defense is not giving up big plays because they're in the right location, making them earn everything. Then you can see okay, our coaching staff did a good job. I will take, a couple of years ago, 2018, I remember the Spencer Columbus game. We had just really big expectations coming in, and we laid an egg, and give Jason Gorst and his staff credit for pounding us and showing us that you can be humble. Fortunate for us, we got a chance to play them again in level 4 in one of the coolest games I've ever been a part of, and kind of showed what type of team we were made of. And it also helped to have Kate Erke having 300 yards rushing and Ben Barton and Easton Kilty and company. But that being said, I'm hoping that like last night's practice, we were crisp. We were coming out of the huddle the right way, and you could tell it was different than Monday night. So those are the improvements at my job. I have 2 awesome coordinators. Marshall Lehman, obviously, he's a defensive coordinator for me. He's done a great job since he's been here. And new to this year is Greg Belter, and Greg is a former alumni. He's one of the smartest players I've ever coached, and I'm excited to see what he can do with the offense. He looked really good in the scrimmage, calling different plays. He's thinking like a chess master, 2-3 plays ahead. And something I had to call the offense last year, and it just felt uncomfortable. I'm more of a defensive minded guy, so I bugged Marshall probably too much. But overall, I think Greg's going to do a great job going forward.
Coach, best luck on Friday, and good luck all year. Thanks for spending time with us today.
Jason, I want to shout out to you guys and your staff too, because there's people across the state that don't get what we get. Hodag does their wonderful TV, and I wish they'd take our game down from last year. But you guys, you can. My mom and dad can watch it in the luxury of their home in Hickston. My brothers can watch. It's awesome that we have that wonderful internet connection, and we appreciate all you do.
We're looking forward to it again this year, Coach.